Good evening friends, this is Professor Vishal, and in last session we started the solution of exercise first from first chapter, that is some basic concepts of chemistry. In first question we have discussed in detail solution of MCQs. Now we are going to start our second question in this session. So I have come up with the solution, answer each and every detail answer I have written here. I will explain the answer one by one. So main sub question is question number 2, so which is answer the following. Question is like this: answer the following question. Also it contains 9 sub questions. We will discuss one by one. First question is question A: state and explain the Avogadro's law. State and explain Avogadro's law. So firstly we have to read the question carefully. So here what they will ask, they just wanted to explanation of Avogadro's law. Okay, now see, while writing the answer, if you directly write the statement, so it will not be the correct way to express your answer. Okay, always just put the background of that, what exactly the Avogadro's statement or Avogadro's hypothesis is there. Okay, so in 1811 Amio Avogadro made a distinction between atoms and molecules. So this Avogadro gives the standard definition of atom as well as molecules. So according to Avogadro, atom is nothing but the smallest particle which may or may not have independent existence, and he defines the molecule as it is also smallest particle which is capable of having independent existence. So he gives two standard definition of atoms and molecules and proposed this law. So that law is known as Avogadro's law. Now we will discuss the statement of Avogadro's law. According to the statement, equal volume of all gases at same temperature and pressure contains equal number of molecules. According to his statement, equal number of all gases at same temperature and pressure contains equal number of molecules. So I will give you one simple example. Let us say I am having 3 jars and that contains 1 liter of, let us say first jar contains 1 liter of oxygen, second contains 1 liter of hydrogen, and third contains 1 liter of chlorine in gaseous format. Okay, now if the quantity is 1 liter, if the quantity of oxygen, hydrogen and chlorine is 1 liter, so though these gases are different, according to the statement, equal volume of all gases, here volume is what, 1 liter, so equal volume of all gases contains equal number of, at same temperature and pressure, obviously contains equal number of molecules. Means what, first jar contains, let us say first jar contains 10 molecules, second jar will also contain 10, and third jar will also contain 10 molecules. So this is how the statement of Avogadro's law works. Okay, so we will see one example with the help of which it will be easier for us to understand this concept. So when we will combine hydrogen with oxygen, we will get water as a product. So this is your reactant side and this will be your product side. Okay, so obviously this is in gaseous form. So 2 volume of hydrogen is there and 1 volume of oxygen is there. We will get 2 volume of water. Okay, means what, if we 2 molecules of hydrogen gas combine with the 1 molecule of oxygen gas to give 2 molecules of water vapor. Now water in gaseous format means what, it is nothing but the water vapor. So this thing we have to remember. Or we can also write hydrogen when combined with oxygen in gaseous format, we will get water vapor. Okay, so this means water is in gaseous form. So it contains 2 molecules of hydrogen, 1 molecule of oxygen. When they will combine, we will get 2 molecules of water. Okay, so this is how the Avogadro law works. So whenever the question is like this, we have to write all these details. Means first we have to write down this what exactly the Avogadro law gives us. He gives these 2 important definitions, atoms and molecules, then the statement, and with the help of such examples you can explain this statement. And again we will give such it will be better if you provide this example and giving the explanation containing the number of molecules and all such things. Okay, after this we are going to discuss next question from the second question. Actually we are discussing sub questions from second. Main question is your second question and this will be your first sub question. Let us move towards second sub question. Now here your second sub question is like this: point the difference between 12 gram of carbon and 12 AMU of carbon. Here U means AMU, or we called it as a unitary mass also. Recently it is replaced with unitary mass. Previously we called it as atomic mass unit, AMU. But one and thing is one and the same. So it is 12 AMU of carbon. So just we have to know the difference between 12 gram of carbon and 12 unit of atomic mass unit of carbon. See, the 12 gram of carbon is nothing but the molar mass of carbon. Molar mass of carbon means we calculate the molecular mass and we express that molecular mass in terms of gram. So this is known as molar mass of a carbon. Means 12 gram of carbon means molar mass of a carbon. Okay, and what about 10U or 12U or 12 AMU? This 12 AMU of carbon is nothing but mass of one atom of carbon or one carbon atom. So this is what, this is the mass of one carbon atom. So in this way you can easily find out the difference between 12 gram of carbon and 12 AMU of carbon. Basically 12 gram of carbon is molar mass and 12 atomic mass unit of carbon is nothing but the mass of simple one carbon atom. So in this way you can write the answer of such questions. Okay, so though it is firstly when we read this, it is found to be somewhat difficult, but if you find out the concept you can easily write down the answer. If you know the concept, if you are familiar with the concept, you can easily write down the answer. Okay, now let us move towards third sub question. Question is like this: how many grams does an atom of hydrogen weigh? How many grams does an atom of hydrogen weigh? Now hydrogen atom is having standard molar mass of 1.6736 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram. So generally hydrogen or oxygen, or let us say oxygen, we are using in order to calculate the atomic mass. Basically what will happen when we discuss mass of an atom, atom is according to Dalton's atomic theory, atom is the smallest particle, smallest indestructible particle. Okay, means it is very difficult to find out the mass of one atom. Okay, and for which we have to consider some relative masses, and for this we are going to consider relative mass of hydrogen as well as relative mass of oxygen as a standard unit, and it is found to be, in case of hydrogen it is found to be 1.6736 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram. And this mass of hydrogen in terms of gram is found by using a standard instrument, what we called it as a mass spectrometer. Okay, with the help of mass spectrometer we are measuring the mass of this hydrogen atom. Okay, so let's move towards our next question. Next question is like this. Question number D: calculate the molecular mass of the following. Okay, here three compounds are given. First one is NH3, that is ammonia, CH3COOH, acetic acid, and C2H2, C2H5OH is given. We are going to solve this in order to get the correct answer. So firstly we will see how to calculate the molecular mass. Now first we will take NH3. See, while calculating the molecular mass we have to use the concept of average atomic mass. We must know the average atomic mass of each and every element, and we have to multiply number of atoms into average atomic mass of one element, and then we have to add a number of atoms into average atomic mass of another element. Likewise we have to add and we will get our answer. For example, in this case let us say, see, number of atom is 1 in case of nitrogen, and average atomic mass of nitrogen plus 3 atoms of hydrogen and average atomic mass of hydrogen. Okay, so in this way you have to calculate. So here 1 as it is, average atomic mass of nitrogen is 14 unit plus 3 into average atomic mass of hydrogen is 1 unit. So if you add it, 14 plus it becomes 3, so 17U. So this 17U is what? Average atomic mass of NH3. So this is how we are going to calculate the, this is 17 unit is the molecular mass of NH3, not average atomic mass. Okay, so how we are calculated, we just take, so here if you identify two elements are there, nitrogen and hydrogen. So first we will take the number of atoms of nitrogen, we multiply it by average atomic mass of nitrogen plus number of atoms of hydrogen into average atomic mass of hydrogen. So in this way we calculated and we will get answer as a 17 unit, that is the molecular mass of ammonia is found to be 17 unit. Okay, so similarly you can calculate for CH3COH also, that is acetic acid. See, if you see here, I will directly write instead of writing all these details. If you see, 2 carbon atoms are there, so I will write 2 into average atomic mass of carbon is 12 plus, again if you see here, total 4 hydrogen atoms, so 4 into average atomic mass is 1, and plus if you see 2 atoms of oxygen is there, so 2 into average atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So in this way you can easily calculate. So 2 into 12, 2 12 are, so 12 2 are 4, 24 plus 4 into 1 4 plus 16 2 are 32. Okay, so if you add it, 32 36 and 24 becomes 60 atomic mass unit or 60 unitary mass. So this is how we are going to calculate the molecular mass of acetic acid. Okay, and similarly we will proceed for third case, that is third example, that is C2H5OH. Here again if you see, 2 atoms of carbon are there, where average atomic mass of carbon is 12 plus 5 atoms of hydrogen are there, average atomic mass is 1, and plus again if you see here, so instead of this 5 it will be better if you write 6 here. Okay, because one hydrogen atom is already there, so 5 plus 1 6, I am directly using this as 6 into 1, and one atom of oxygen is there, so 1 into average atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So if you add it, 2 12s are 24 plus 6 plus 16, 32 plus 24, that is 46 unitary mass. So 46 unit molecular mass of C2H5OH is 46 unit, for acetic acid it is 60 unit, and for ammonia it is 17 unit. So in this way you can easily calculate the molecular mass of any given compound. Okay, only the thing is what, you must know the average atomic mass. Average atomic mass, we have to multiply it by number of atoms in that particular number of atoms of the element in the particular compound. And similarly, if 2 atoms are there, if 3 elements are there, 4 elements are there, we are adding them in a sequence and we will get our answer. Okay, after this we are going to proceed for our next question, that is question number E. Question is like this: how many particles are present in 1 mole of a substance? Now here we have to find out the how many particles are present in 1 mole of a substance. Okay, so when we see the mole concept, we must we have discussed about this 1 mole. So likewise we will use generally the concept of quantitative or adjectives, isn't it? Means what, let us say when we discuss about the bananas, so we instead of 12 bananas we called it as a 1 dozen. So this is what, this is nothing but the quantitative adjective. Similar to that, 1 mole is also expressed in one that is quantitative adjective. So number of particles are present in 1 mole are nothing but this much amount of particles are present, that is 6.022 into 6.0221367 into 10 raised to 23. So now here the particle means what? Particle may be any entity, it may be ion, it may be atom, or it may be molecules. Okay, so this is how the one concept of 1 mole is applicable. Okay, means 1 mole of any substance is nothing but 6.0221367 into 10 raised to 23. So this is most important. Most of the times what will happen, they will give you the compound and find out the one mole of that compound. So irrespective of the molecular mass, 1 mole means this much of quantity, 6.0221367 into 10 raised to 23. Okay, got it. So after this we will proceed for next question, question number F, and I will read the question. What is the SI unit of amount of substance? So if you remember, we already discussed in theory section some of the fundamental and derived quantities. So amount of substance is also one of the fundamental quantity, and its unit is SI unit of the amount of substance is mole. Its unit is mole, and its symbol is MOL only. Okay, so unit is mole, MOLE, and symbol is mole. So basically mole is the SI unit of amount of substance. Means whenever I have to define the amount of substance, I will use this unit, that is mole. Okay, and symbolically it is represented by MOL only. Very simple questions are there. So after this we will proceed for next question. What is meant by molar volume of a gas? Okay, so we'll have a solution of this question. What do you mean by molar volume of a gas? Basically, as we all know, it is the volume. So it is nothing but volume occupied by 1 mole of a gas. Molar volume is nothing but volume occupied by 1 mole of a gas at STP condition. Now what do you mean by this STP condition? We called it as a standard temperature and pressure condition. So standard temperature and pressure condition means temperature is 0 degree centigrade and pressure is 1 atmospheric pressure. So that particular condition we called it as a STP condition. Means at STP condition, with the volume occupied by 1 mole of gas, that volume we called it as a molar volume. Okay, this particular two words are important at STP condition only. Okay, so now molar volume of a gas at STP is nothing but 22.4 decimeter cube. So this is standard value. At STP it is found to be 22.4 decimeter cube. Okay, so again this is the easiest theory concept we already discussed in theory session. We will proceed for our next question, that is question number H. After this, state and explain the law of conservation of mass. So according to whenever they will ask in your question any laws, total we have seen 5 laws. First one is this law of conservation of mass. Second, we have discussed about law of definite proportion. Third, law of multiple proportion. Fourth, we already discussed about the law of reciprocal proportion. Then Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volume, and at last we already discussed about the Avogadro law. Okay, so out of these 5 to 6 law, there will be definitely one question from this chapter. We have to, question is like this: state and explain the law of conservation of mass. Okay, so basically the law of conservation of mass states that mass can neither be created nor destroyed during chemical combination of a matter. So this is the statement of this law: mass can neither be created nor be destroyed during chemical combination of matter. So according to this law, one concept is most important which is applicable. So that is, total mass of reactant is equal to total mass of product, or total weight of reactant is equal to total weight of product. Now we will see how this statement is validated with the help of one example. So this is how we are going to discuss with the help of example this law of mass, conservation of mass. For example, when I will take this reaction, carbon when combined with oxygen, we will get CO2. So this complete side is what we call it as a reactant side, and this is your product side. Okay, now if you calculate the mass of reactant side. For carbon it is 12 gram average atomic mass, one atom is there, so 1 into 12. For oxygen, two atoms are there and average atomic mass of oxygen is 16, so 2 into 16, 32. So if you add them all, 12 plus 32, we will get 44 gram, that is we called it as a molecular mass on reactant side. And if you see CO2, so for this complete compound we again calculating the molecular mass. For carbon only one atom is there whose average atomic mass is 12, so 1 into 12. And for oxygen, so here I can write 1 into 12. And for oxygen two atoms are there and average atomic mass is 16, so 12 plus 32, so it is found to be 44 gram. So if you see, this side is reactant side, so 44 gram we will get on product side and same value, that is 44 gram we will get on reactant side. So this is how reactant side and product sides are equal. Total mass of product side, reactant side and product side are equal. So this is how this law of conservation of mass validates. Means mass can neither be created nor be destroyed during this process. Okay, total mass is constant during the combination of a matter. Okay, so this is how the law of conservation of mass is validated. After this we are going to discuss about last question from this from the second question. This is probably last sub question. Now question is like this: state the law of multiple proportion. We have to discuss about the law of multiple proportion. Okay, so firstly we will see the statement of law of multiple proportion, then we will understand it with the help of one example. Okay, so now according to law of multiple proportion, if the two elements combine to form more than one compound, then if the mass of one is kept constant and second element bears a whole number ratio to each other, means generally in order to get the compounds, what we will do, we will combine two elements, and then when we combine two elements we will get a compound. And in that compound, if the mass of one element is kept constant, we will kept constant mass of one element, and second element bears a whole number ratio with each other. If we kept the mass of first element constant, we will get the second element in a whole number ratio. Okay, so now there are n number of examples. With the help of one example I will try to explain this concept to you all. So see, I'm using this two elements, nitrogen and oxygen. So we will get different types of compounds here. When we combine nitrogen and oxygen, we will get different types of compound. Likewise, first compound I will get N2O, that is nitrous oxide. So this is nitrous oxide. We commonly call it as a laughing gas, isn't it? Then second compound we will get NO, that is nitric oxide. This is nitric oxide, or we commonly call it as a nitrogen oxide. Okay, third compound from nitrogen and oxygen we will get N2O3, that is nitric trioxide. Fourth we will get NO2, that is nitrogen dioxide. And fifth compound we will get when we combine nitrogen with oxygen, that is N2O5, that is nitrogen pentoxide. Okay, so when we combine nitrogen and oxygen we will get these five compounds generally. Okay, now according to the statement we will find out first the mass of nitrogen and mass of oxygen. In this compound, first compound, mass of nitrogen is found to be 28. Similarly 14, 28, 14, 28. Okay, and for oxygen it is found to be 16, 16, 48, 32 and 80. Okay, now one question arises, why am mark cross sign over here, or cross line over here? So this is what the application of law of multiple proportion. According to the statement, if we kept mass of one element constant, I am keeping the mass of nitrogen constant in this example. So for it is to be constant, so minimum value I have to find out, so it is found to be 14. So I will convert all these masses into 14. So in order to convert this 28 into 14, I have to divide it by 2, so it becomes 14. Similarly, when I divide this by 2, I have to divide this by also by 2, so it becomes 8. Likewise, what I did, I just converted it into 14, and similarly applying conversion factor to the mass of oxygen also, and I will get mass of oxygen. For first compound it is 8, for second it is 16, for third it is 24, for fourth 32, and for fifth 40. Okay, 1 is to 2 is to 3 is to 4 is to 5. Okay, so this is how we are using this concept, and we will get our answer in a most easiest way. So this is what the law of multiple proportion is. Okay, so if we keep mass of one element constant, we will get second element in a whole number ratio with each other. Okay, so after this, so these 9 questions I think I have covered from your second sub question. That is, title of that question was, so this was the title, answer the following questions. Okay, so it contains, second questions contains 9 sub questions. I think I have covered these 9 questions with detailed solutions. Okay, so hope it will understood. So after this we are going to proceed for third question. Your third question is like this, given so we have to give one example of each. Instead of given, here question is like this, give one example of each. So first it is given as homogeneous mixture, second heterogeneous mixture, third element, and fourth one is compound. So we have to give one example for each. Okay, so now when we discuss about homogeneous mixture, so solution is the perfect example of homogeneous mixture. Solution of, let us say, sugar and water, so more precisely, so this is homogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixture means what? When we take the sugar and water, sugar will completely dissolve inside the water and we will get one complete solution. Okay, so that is what we call it as a homogeneous solution. Okay, so in this case, if you discuss about solute and solvent, sugar is the solute and water is the solvent. Okay, so this is how the homogeneous mixture is. Now example of heterogeneous mixture is likewise any suspension. So suspension means, let us say, when I will put the oil inside the water, I will drop the few, when I will pour the some droplets of oil inside the water, so this becomes suspension, and this we call it as a heterogeneous mixture. Okay, so now third is the element. You can give any example, so I am giving the example of gold over here. And fourth is compound. So there are n number of compounds, so such as distilled water, or let us say we have already discussed about nitrogen, compound of nitrogen and oxygen, NO2, NO, N2O5, likewise. So these are all compounds. So in this way you can easily give the example of each. So this is very basic question. Now after this we are going to discuss about fourth question. That is, we are going to solve each and every problem from this chapter, so that it will be easier for you to solve the numericals, all kind of numericals. We will discuss this question in our next session. Thank you.